Hello and welcome to Raj Sabha TV. You're watching News Tonight with your host Rajat Kane. Let's have a look at the top stories through the day. Starting with Prime Minister's addressal on Ladakh issue. In his first remark on India-China face-off in Ladakh on Wednesday, Prime Minister Modi said that India wants peace but is capable of giving a befitting reply if provoked.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi started his meeting with a 2-minute silence to pay homage to the 20 soldiers who were killed in the line of duty at the Galwan Valley on Monday. In a stern message to China, Prime Minister Modi said the sacrifice of the Jawans will not be in vain. The Prime Minister's address on the Ladakh face-off came right before he started his virtual meeting with the Chief Ministers and heads of 15 states and union territories.
चाहे स्थिति कुछ भी हो, परिस्थिति कुछ भी हो, भारत पूरी दृढ़ता से देश की एक एक इंच जमीन की, देश के स्वाभिमान की रक्षा करेगा। त्याग और तितिक्षा हमारे राष्ट्रीय चरित्र का हिस्सा है, लेकिन साथ ही विक्रम और वीरता भी उतना ही हमारे देश के चरित्र का हिस्सा है। मैं देश को भरोसा दिलाना चाहता हूं, हमारे जवानों का बलिदान व्यर्थ नहीं जाएगा। हमारे लिए भारत की अखंडता और संप्रभुता सर्वोच्च है और इसकी रक्षा करने से हमें कोई भी रोक नहीं सकता। इस बारे में किसी को भी जरा भी भ्रम या संदेह नहीं होना चाहिए।
The Prime Minister said India never provokes anyone and will not compromise with integrity and sovereignty of the nation. He asserted that India has always maintained cooperative and friendly relations with neighbors.
हमने हर युग में पूरे संसार में शांति की, पूरी मानवता के कल्याण की कामना की है। हमने हमेशा से ही अपने पड़ोसियों के साथ एक कोऑपरेटिव और फ्रेंडली तरीके से मिलकर काम किया है। हमेशा उनके विकास और कल्याण की कामना की है। जहां कहीं हमारे मतभेद भी रहे हैं, हमने हमेशा ही ये प्रयास किया है कि मतभेद विवाद न बने, डिफरेंसेस डिस्प्यूट्स में न बदले। हम कभी किसी को भी उकसाते नहीं हैं, लेकिन हम अपने देश की अखंडता और संप्रभुता के साथ समझौता भी नहीं करते हैं।
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Home Minister Amit Shah were present in the meeting. Prime Minister Modi also called an all-party meeting on 19th of June to discuss the situation on the Indo-China border area. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, India on Wednesday conveyed its protest in strongest terms to China over the violent face-off in Galwan Valley on Monday night.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar had a telephonic conversation with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi, during which he underlined that the unprecedented development in Galwan Valley will have a serious impact on the bilateral relationship. Recalling the agreement reached on de-escalation and disengagement along the line of actual control at the meeting of senior military commanders held on the 6th of June, the minister said the need of the hour was for the Chinese side to reassess its actions and take corrective steps. He added that the two sides should scrupulously and sincerely implement the understanding that was reached by the senior commanders on 6 June. Troops of both sides should also abide by the bilateral agreements and protocols. As per the Ministry of External Affairs, both sides have agreed to implement the disengagement understanding of June 6 sincerely and handle the overall situation in a responsible manner. Neither side would take any action to escalate matters and instead ensure peace and tranquility. To discuss the border situation and the worst flare-up on the line of actual control in more than 5 decades, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called an all-party meeting on the 19th of June. Presidents of various political parties are expected to take part in the virtual meeting. Meanwhile, tributes poured in for the 20 frontline soldiers who laid down their lives in the violent clash in Galwan Valley. In a Twitter message, President Ramnath Kovind wrote, and I quote, "As Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, I bow to the exemplary courage and supreme sacrifice of our soldiers to protect the sovereignty and integrity of the country. All those who laid down their lives in Galwan Valley have upheld the best traditions of Indian Armed Forces." Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said, "The loss of soldiers in Galwan is deeply disturbing and painful. The nation will never forget their bravery and sacrifice. The country stands shoulder to shoulder with the families of the fallen heroes in this difficult hour." Home Minister Amit Shah said, "The pain of losing our brave soldiers while protecting our motherland cannot be put into words. The country salutes the immortal heroes who sacrificed their lives to keep Indian territory safe and secure. Their bravery reflects India's commitment towards her motherland." India lost 20 of its soldiers in clashes with the Chinese side during the de-escalation process in eastern Ladakh on Monday night. The clashes were a result of China's attempts to change the status quo of the line of actual control in the Galwan Valley.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a meeting via video conferencing with Chief Ministers of 15 states and Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir. The meeting comes a day after his interaction with Chief Ministers and LGs of 21 states and union territories.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi said recoveries from COVID-19 are constantly rising due to timely testing, treatment and reporting. He told chief ministers and administrators of 15 states and union territories that the maximum spread of the virus is concentrated in only big cities of a few states.
कुछ शहरों में अधिक भीड़, छोटे छोटे घर, गलियों मोहल्लों में फिजिकल डिस्टेंसिंग की कमी, हर रोज हजारों लोगों की आवाजाही, इन बातों ने कोरोना के खिलाफ की लड़ाई को और चुनौतीपूर्ण बना दिया है। फिर भी हर देशवासी के संयम, अनेक जगहों पर प्रशासन की तत्परता और हमारे कोरोना योद्धाओं के समर्पण की वजह से हमने हालात को नियंत्रण से बाहर नहीं जाने दिया है। समय पर ट्रेसिंग, ट्रीटमेंट और रिपोर्टिंग, उसके कारण हमारे यहाँ संक्रमण से रिकवर होने वालों की संख्या लगातार बढ़ रही है। ये राहत की बात है कि आईसीयू और वेंटिलेटर केयर की जरूरत भी बहुत कम मरीजों को पड़ रही है।
The Prime Minister said India was able to fight the pandemic due to the timely measures taken by the government.
लॉकडाउन के दौरान देश की जनता ने जो अनुशासन दिखाया है, उसने वायरस की एक्सपोनेंशियल ग्रोथ को रोका है। चाहे इलाज की व्यवस्था हो, हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो, ट्रेन मैन पावर हो, आज हम कहीं ज्यादा संभली हुई स्थिति में है। आप भी इससे परिचित है कि सिर्फ 3 महीने पहले पीपीई के लिए, डायग्नोस्टिक किट्स के लिए सिर्फ भारत में ही नहीं, दुनिया के अनेक देशों में हाहाकार मचा हुआ था। भारत में भी बहुत लिमिटेड स्टॉक था, क्योंकि हम पूरी तरह से इंपोर्ट पर डिपेंडेंट थे। आज स्थिति ये है कि पूरे देश में 1 करोड़ से अधिक पीपीई और इतने ही N95 मास्क राज्यों तक पहुंच चुके हैं। हमारे पास डायग्नोस्टिक किट्स का पर्याप्त स्टॉक है और उनकी प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी भी बहुत बढ़ाई गई है।
He also urged people to download the Arogya Setu app. Prime Minister Modi said the supply of ventilators with PM CARES funds has started. He said expansion of healthcare infrastructure is the top priority of the government.
आज देश का हर नागरिक इस वायरस के प्रति पहले से ज्यादा सचेत हुआ है, जागरूक हुआ है। ये सब कुछ राज्य सरकारों के सहयोग से, स्थानीय प्रशासन के दिन रात काम करने की वजह से ही संभव हो पाया है। साथियों, कोरोना के खिलाफ लड़ाई में जीत का विश्वास दिलाने वाली इन बातों के बीच हमें हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम्स, इमोशनल सपोर्ट और पब्लिक पार्टिसिपेशन इसी तरह निरंतर बल देना होगा। साथियों, कोरोना के बढ़ते हुए मरीजों की संख्या को देखते हुए हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का विस्तार करना, हर जीवन को बचाना हमारी सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता होनी चाहिए। ये तभी होगा जब कोरोना के प्रत्येक मरीज को उचित इलाज मिलेगा। इसके लिए हमें टेस्टिंग पर और अधिक बल देना है, ताकि संक्रमित व्यक्ति को हम जल्द से जल्द ट्रेस और ट्रैक और आइसोलेट कर सकें।
Present at the meeting were Chief Ministers of Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Telangana and Odisha. The Lieutenant General of Jammu and Kashmir was also among those present at the meeting. These states account for over 85% of the total coronavirus cases in the country. The Prime Minister said the suggestions given by the Chief Ministers will help frame better strategy to battle the pandemic. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Prime Minister Modi and his Canadian counterpart Justin Trudeau have emphasized the need to strengthen multilateral institutions, including World Health Organization.
In a telephonic conversation on Tuesday, both Prime Minister Modi and Trudeau agreed to work closely through international fora on health, social, economic and political issues. Both countries discussed the COVID-19 situation in their respective countries, as well as the possibility of international collaboration to deal with health and economic crisis. Calling the Indo-Canadian partnership a force for good in the post-COVID world, both pledged to advance humanitarian values in the global discourse. They agreed that as large economies with democratic values, India and Canada have a natural convergence on many global issues. Prime Minister Modi warmly appreciated Canada's assistance to Indian citizens and facilitating their repatriation to India in recent days. The two leaders also agreed to continue their mutual consultations in the coming days.
India touched a total of over 3.5 lakh coronavirus cases on Wednesday. 2,003 deaths have been reported in the last 24 hours.
India on Tuesday reported 2,003 deaths in the last 24 hours, taking the coronavirus toll to 11,903. However, the government clarified that the spike in the death figure was due to data reconciliation for the months of March and April by Maharashtra and Delhi. According to reports, Maharashtra reported over 1,300 new deaths, including 862 from Mumbai, taking the death toll to 5,537 in the state. Similarly, Delhi's death toll increased to 1,837, with 437 deaths reported on Tuesday. 93 occurred over the past 24 hours. With this jump in the death toll, India's case fatality rate, which means the total deaths against the total number of cases, has gone up by 0.5% to 3.4% from 2.9%. India's death rate is still lower than many other countries and also well below the global average of about 5.3%. With 10,974 fresh cases, COVID-19 infections rose to 3,54,065, which includes 1,55,227 active cases and 1,86,934 recoveries. The recovery rate is at 52.80%. With more than 10,000 new cases reported every day for over a week, it took 4 days to cross the 3.5 lakh cases after reaching the 3 lakh mark on June 13th. According to independent experts, while the total number of cases is rising, active cases are growing at 1.3%, which means that active cases are doubling in 54 days, while the total cases are doubling in every 21 days. India's total samples tested has also crossed 60 lakhs. At least 1,63,187 samples were tested in the last 24 hours, the highest so far, taking the total samples tested to 60,84,256. As infections continue to be reported from all parts of the country, Delhi, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu continue to report 70% of the total caseload. The COVID-19 tally in Maharashtra jumped to 1.13 lakh on Wednesday, out of which 57,851 have recovered. In Tamil Nadu, cases rose to over 48,000. The capital city of Chennai has the maximum caseload in the state with 70% of the cases. While 525 people have died, over 26,000 have recovered. With 1,859 fresh coronavirus cases, Delhi's COVID-19 tally is inching towards the 45,000 mark. Gujarat reported 530 new cases on Tuesday, the highest spike in a single day. The state now has nearly 25,000 cases. Cases in Ahmedabad district have crossed 17,000. Haryana also reported 550 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, the highest single-day hike in the state. The total number of cases in the state is now at 8,272, including 118 deaths. Gurgaon accounts for nearly half of all cases in the state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Researchers are claiming that low-cost steroid drug dexamethasone is proving to be effective treatment for COVID-19.
Dexamethasone is an anti-inflammatory medicine used to treat problems like allergies, asthma, eczema, inflammatory bowel disease, and arthritis. According to a trial conducted by Oxford University, dexamethasone is the first drug that is improving survival in COVID-19. It is said to cut the risk of death by over 33% for patients who are on ventilators and by 20% for patients on oxygen support. The recovery trial was launched in April as a randomized clinical trial. It compared outcomes of around 2,100 patients who were randomly given the steroid with 4,300 patients who did not get it. The World Health Organization hailed the medicine as a life-saving scientific breakthrough to treat severely ill coronavirus patients.
In patients on the ward who require oxygen and have COVID, it reduces the risk of death by about 20%. That covers about 75% of patients in the hospital who will receive a mortality benefit from using this drug. There's another group of patients who don't require oxygen but have COVID, and we did not see a benefit in those patients. So it's not a drug that you would use in the community or in outpatients or in patients on the ward who didn't have breathing difficulties. But in patients with breathing difficulties who require oxygen or ventilation, it really is showing quite a significant effect.
The Supreme Court on Wednesday adjourned hearing of a PIL that seeks waiver on interest paid on EMIs during period of moratorium that was announced due to COVID-19 lockdown. The matter will be heard in the first week of August.
At Wednesday's hearing, the Supreme Court questioned the central government on the issue, telling both the government and the Reserve Bank of India to review it. It said the matter cannot be left to the borrowers and lenders alone. The apex court bench said that it is the centre's duty to ensure that the benefits are given to the customer purposefully. A three-judge bench was hearing the public interest litigation that sought waiver of interest on loan repayments during the moratorium period. Appearing for the centre and the RBI, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said that the interest waiver during the moratorium period might risk financial stability of the banks. The top court replied that the question is not about a complete interest waiver for the entire moratorium period, but rather it is limited only to interest charge on interest by banks. The bench also asked the Indian Banks Association to examine if they can bring new guidelines on the issue of loan moratorium. Last week, the Supreme Court had asked the Finance Ministry and Reserve Bank of India to hold a meeting to decide on the waiver of interest issue.
The Supreme Court has directed the centre and state governments that they should ensure payment of salaries without default to doctors and health workers.
The court also ordered that the quarantine facilities for doctors and health workers shall be ensured, even if they are not falling within the high-risk exposure category. The Supreme Court asked the centre to issue directions to states on both these issues by Thursday. The Supreme Court bench of Justices Ashok Bhushan, S.K. Kaul and M.R. Shah also asked the centre to file a compliance report within 4 weeks on payment of salaries and quarantine facilities to doctors and healthcare workers and warned that non-compliance would be viewed seriously. The bench was hearing a petition filed by a private doctor raising questions on the centre's 15th of May decision that 14-day quarantine was not mandatory for doctors. The petition sought clear-cut directions regarding accommodation, quarantine and payment to doctors. On behalf of the government, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta said that everything will be done to resolve the matter in right earnest and assured the top court that the government will make non-payment of salaries a criminal offence. The bench will hear the matter after 4 weeks to take stock of compliance. Earlier on 8th of April, the Apex Court had observed that doctors and medical staff are the first line of defense of the country in the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic and directed the centre to ensure that appropriate PPEs are made available to them for treating coronavirus patients.
Well, time now to take a look at novel coronavirus update from across the world.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern on Wednesday assigned a top military leader to oversee the country's border quarantine measures. This comes after 2 COVID-19 positive people were allowed to move around the country. Calling out the incident as an unacceptable failure by health officials, Ardern advocated tough border measures to prevent another outbreak. Calling out the incident as an unacceptable failure by health officials, Ardern advocated tough border measures to prevent another outbreak. The 2 women who arrived from Britain on 7th of June went into mandatory quarantine after landing, but were given special permission to leave the facility early to see their dying parents. Beijing on Wednesday cancelled hundreds of domestic flights and trains after 55 new COVID-19 cases were reported in China on Tuesday, 31 of them from Beijing. Beijing upgraded its emergency response to COVID-19 from level 3 to level 2 on Tuesday after reporting 137 fresh cases. Meanwhile, countries worldwide continued to make gradual exits from lockdown. Hong Kong Disneyland is all geared up for its reopening on Thursday with face masks, temperature checks and other safety measures in place. Park goers can interact with their favorite Disney characters such as Mickey and Minnie Mouse, but from a distance. In Italy, 500,000 students appeared for final exams on Wednesday. Wearing masks for students and teachers has been made mandatory, while desks are socially distanced and the number of students who can sit for exams at the same time have been restricted. On Tuesday, Muscovites lunched at restaurant terraces as lockdown restrictions got eased further in Russia. In addition, Russia also allowed reopening of museums, libraries and zoos with limited capacity. The English Premier League also started from Wednesday. On day 1, Aston Villa is hosting Sheffield United, while Manchester City faces Arsenal in matches that are held behind closed doors. Honduran President Juan Orlando tested positive for the coronavirus. His wife and 2 aides have also been infected and are all undergoing treatment. Globally, over 8.2 million people have been diagnosed with the virus and over 446,000 people have lost their lives so far.
Well, India is all set to get elected unopposed as a non-permanent member of United Nations Security Council on Wednesday for a 2-year term starting January 2021.
The 193-member UN General Assembly held elections for posts of President for the 75th session of the Assembly, 5 non-permanent members of the Security Council and the members of the Economic and Social Council. Special voting arrangements were put in place at the UN headquarters due to coronavirus-related restrictions. India was a candidate for a non-permanent seat from the Asia-Pacific category for 2021-22. India was the sole candidate vying for the lone seat from the grouping. New Delhi's candidature had been unanimously endorsed by the 55-member Asia-Pacific grouping, including China and Pakistan, in June last year. France took over the presidency of the powerful 15-member Security Council for June. The last time India was a non-permanent member of the UNSC was in 1950-51, 1967-68, 1972-73, 1977-78, 1984-85, 1991-1992 and most recently in 2011-2012. The United Nations Security Council has 15 members. 10 are non-permanent members besides the 5 veto-wielding permanent ones: Britain, China, France, Russia and the US. Each year, the General Assembly elects 5 non-permanent members out of the 10 members for a 2-year term. The 10 non-permanent seats are distributed on a regional basis as follows: 5 for African and Asian states, 1 for Eastern European states, 2 for the Latin American and Caribbean states, and 2 for Western Europe and other states. To be elected to the Council, candidate countries need a 2/3 majority of ballots of member states that are present and voting in the Assembly. This year, Canada, Ireland and Norway are vying for 2 seats in the Western Europe and other countries category. Mexico is the only candidate for the 1 Latin America and Caribbean seat, while Kenya and Djibouti are contesting the seat available for the African group. Beginning January 2021, the new members will serve a 2-year term at the UNSC.
Well, today is World Day to combat desertification and drought. The day focuses on efforts to promote public awareness of international efforts to combat desertification. In his message this year, Union Minister Prakash Javadekar reiterated the importance of land as natural resources.
Giving the slogan, Food, Feed, Fiber, Javadekar highlighted the theme of this year's Desertification and Drought Day as humanity's relentless production and consumption. Stating that land is both a fundamental natural resource and a sink for greenhouse gases, Javadekar emphasized that it is essential to not only protect and prevent it from degradation, but also to increase its availability through reclamation. He said protection and restoration of land is important to have a healthy environment in which we all can survive.
Well, that's it in the news tonight. Thank you for watching Raj Sabha TV. Good night.
Thank you.